I have been asked to make a special announcement to you this morning from someone in Orange, but this is about Texas Baptist men disaster relief. You know, when we had the flood or we've had hurricanes, lots of damage, people come in from different parts of the state to help us get out, rescue us, help us to clean the house, start rebuilding. Well, there's not a unit like that down in Southeast Texas, but there will be soon. And Monday, August 13th, which is just a week from tomorrow, I think. Is it a week? 2 weeks? 2 weeks from tomorrow, yes, all right. August the 13th, 6 p.m. at Trinity Baptist Church in Orange. There's going to be an informational meeting for anyone who would be interested in becoming a volunteer in the Texas Baptist Men for relief, disaster relief, whether it's cooking, feeding, getting people out, helping them get their homes back, that kind of thing. We'll try to announce it again, maybe put it on anything the church puts out, just so you men or ladies or anybody that you know that would have an interest in this would know about the meeting. And we'd love for you to be a part of that. Okay. You remember when you were in school and something happened that you didn't have school that day. Whether it was a weather day, snow day, you know, or the teacher was sick, they didn't have a substitute, you know. By the way, talking about that, did you hear about the teacher that was sick and been out of school several days, and she got a little card from her class, and it said, "Dear Miss Smith, by a vote of 14 to 13, we hope you get well soon." But you know, when we get some free days that way, I always thought about when you went to college or seminary. And I went to Baylor, and then I went to Southwestern Seminary, Fort Worth. And so over that period of years, once in a while you would get there, and I commuted from south of Waco all the way to Fort Worth. I went 88,000 miles, I think we figured at one time, back and forth to seminary. But even after driving up there, you'd get there one day and they would give you a walk, or they wouldn't be there. And boy, everybody was so happy when that happened. And then he got doning on us. We were paying that professor to be there and paying to be in that classroom. And when they didn't give us anything for our money, we clapped. And I said all of that to say, Terry does his best to give me all the time I need for preaching. And it kind of hurts my feelings sometimes because if you go too long, you know, you're paying for this. So the more you pay, the less I preach, I guess is what we're doing. I'm just joking this morning, but I wanted to say it this way. Terry tries to be careful so he gets through, start on time, get through time, so I'll have enough time. I still usually run over, and I'll try not to today. But he told me the only way that he could cut it any shorter is for us just to whistle as we come in, and won't sing at all. So we're not going to do that. So we'll try to keep within our time constraints this morning. Now, to do that, I want us to look today to the book of Habakkuk. There really is a book in the Old Testament by the name Habakkuk. I want you to find that because we're going to study the whole book. It's not the 3 chapters. We're not going to read it all, but I want you to look at that with me, okay? If you have trouble finding Habakkuk, it's right after Nahum. That didn't help? Well, it's the book right before Zephaniah. That didn't help either. All right, it's 858. Page number. Different page number. All right, I'm giving you time. It's close to the end of the Old Testament, but it's a book that you will enjoy studying, I hope, this morning with me. The book of Habakkuk. I'll always remember when I was in Baylor, I don't remember who the professor was. I assume it was Dr. Kyle Yates. But he told us how to pronounce Habakkuk. And he always said it's kind of like saying tobacco. Okay? Habakkuk. Well, it's not the same at all, but it kind of gives you an idea you can hang on to when you think about Habakkuk. Now, if you can't find that book, you'll look on the front of your bulletin, 3 verses that we want to read are printed there. But they're in different places, and it's such faint print, you might not be able to read it. Okay? Let's look to Habakkuk. We're going to read this morning, beginning with chapter 3, and we're going to read 17, 18, and 19 in that chapter. Habakkuk chapter 3, 17, 18, 19. Now I'll explain what he's talking about after we read. All right? Habakkuk chapter 3, beginning at verse 17. Even though the fig trees have no fruit, and no grapes grow on the vines, even though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no grain, even though the sheep all die and the cattle stalls are empty, I will still be joyful and glad, because the Lord God is my Savior. The sovereign Lord gives me strength. He makes me sure-footed as a deer and keeps me safe on the mountains. Have you ever heard a more beautiful statement of trust in God than that? If everything we count on, food, clothing, house, money, health, if everything that we ask for, we don't have any more. The fig trees fail, no grapes on the vines, the olive crop fails, no grain in the field, the sheep and the cattle are all gone. I will still be joyful and glad. I want to read the same verses in the King James translation. They're a little bit more beautiful, but they're a little bit easier to understand in the newer translation. But in the King James it says it this way, although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength. He will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me to walk upon my high places. What a statement of faith. What a testimony. Now, let's see what this is all about. I'm going to give you an outline. If you want to write this down, it's not mine. I'll tell you who gave it to me. Dr. Gates did give us this when I was in Baylor many, many years ago, and I'll give him the credit. It's a 5-point outline that I want to share with you this morning, and we'll confine ourselves pretty much to just explaining what this little outline says. Point 1 in the outline, studying the book of Habakkuk, is this. This is the prophet Habakkuk, who is passionately protesting why God doesn't do something about the terrible mess our country and our world is in. That sounds strange, doesn't it? The prophet is with great emotion, passion, protesting. Why does God let wickedness go unpunished? Now you could say, well, that's a pretty good question and need some answers even in 2018. But this was written about 610 BC. The power in the world had been Assyria. Assyria is about to be, or maybe has already been defeated when this is written, by Babylonia. And so there's going to be a change in the world. Assyria is going to leave, the Chaldeans are going to become the force, and little Israel, God's people, have been under the oppression of both these powers and will continue to be for some time. But that's not so much the complaint the prophet has as it's this. Things just weren't the way they ought to be. Good folks suffered. Bad folks got richer and richer. Honest and good folks continued to do what they should, but didn't seem to get any better. And those folks who just didn't care about other people and morality or about God were the ones that continued to somehow get more and more and more. I'm not going to read all the book, but I want to read this first little bit to you from this translation, the Good News translation. And I want you to just keep in mind, this is the author, the prophet, saying, God, why do you let this keep going the way it does? Right? Just reading from verse 2, chapter 1, verse 2. O Lord, how long must I call for help before you listen? Before you save us from violence? Why do you make me see such trouble? How can you stand to look on such wrongdoing? Destruction and violence are all around me. There is fighting and quarreling everywhere. The law is weak and useless. Justice is never done. Evil men get the better of the righteous, and so justice is perverted. So the first point of the 5 that I want to share with you, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, is passionate protest of the prophet. Now the point is, and I've already explained the details a little bit, but the prophet thought kind of like we do. If you do what's right, if you're honest, and you're good, you take care of people, you mind your own business, and pay your debts, and God ought to reward that. Life ought to be pretty easy. We shouldn't have all the problems that we do. And what was happening in his day, instead of things getting better and they're having a life that's wonderful, they were struggling all the time. Often by the oppression of governments, often by the oppression of people who had more power than they did, rich people or business people or those who had some clout. And just the ordinary good folks, like we all say, well, we're just average. Well, all the average folks were suffering, and it just went on and on and on. And you can see from what the prophet says, he has asked God to do something about it, just like you have. You've been praying for our country. You've been praying for our situations through all the wars, all the skirmishes, all the politics, all the difficulties, all the financial troubles. And sometimes you just say, why should I keep praying? I just keep on and on and on and on, and God doesn't seem to hear. Or if he does, he doesn't do anything about it. And yet the preacher keeps saying, and the teachers keep saying, and people keep saying, well, pray for our country. God bless America. You know, that's kind of what he's saying. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I have my ideas about you and how much you love us and how powerful you are. But why don't you do something? How long must we wait? The second point of the outline, you want to write this down, is chapter 1, verses 5 through 11. And this passage is God's first answer to the prophet. Okay, God's first answer to the prophet. Give time just to think about that for just a moment. We're not going to read it all. But this, if you want to just look at this in chapter 1, verse 5, after the protest of Habakkuk, then the Lord says, then the Lord said to his people, keep watching the nations around you. You'll be astonished at what you see. I am going to do something that you will not believe when you hear it. I am bringing the Babylonians to power, those fierce, restless people. They're marching out across the world to conquer other lands. They spread fear and terror in their pride. They are a law to themselves. And he goes on talking about the Babylonians or Chaldeans, if you have it in an older translation. Now, let me just try to get us what's saying here. And I'm going to repeat several times to keep us our train of thought. Here's the complaint. We've talked about that. Why don't you do something? Are you ever going to do anything? Will you never help? God said in answer, I'm already doing something. But when you hear it, you won't believe it. I've made some notes in several of my Bibles, not in either of these at this point, but mainly what he says here is, I am already busy doing something. You just haven't really seen it. Well, Habakkuk had the same problem that you and I have sometimes. We go to God with our problems and we tell God the solution we want him to put in place. And sometimes what we need to learn is we go to God with our problems and say, God, help us. We don't know what to tell you to do, but in your power and wisdom, you'll know what to do. Do something. Might it surprise us if after a moment of prayer, say here or in your closet at home, or as you go to sleep at night, you're asking God to bless our country, to bless your family and the situation, and we sometimes say almost like a complaint, God, I'm faithful to you, I go, I give, I try my best, and you're not doing anything. And at the end of our prayer, when we would say amen, God says, hey, I'm doing a lot you're not just seeing. Pay attention. Wake up. See what's happening. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Point 1, point 2. I hope you've got that. But when God gives his answer, I want you to see the point 3 of the outline. This is in chapter 1, verses 12 through 17. Now, I'm going to have to keep Connecting these. So I know I'm repeating, but I want you to connect these in your mind. God, when are you going to do something? I'm already doing it. I am going to work through the Babylonians to punish my people. When they come with their horses and their weapons and their plans and their strength, their power, when they come, you are going to be put in your place. You're going to suffer more than you ever have before. You know, what's wrong with that? God do something. He said, I'm doing it. God deliver us. He said, you won't believe what I'm doing. And they didn't. Because what Habakkuk then sees is this. How can a holy, righteous, powerful God use a people to punish us, and that people's even more wicked than we are? I know this isn't exact, but you get the kind of point I'm trying to make. What if we prayed as American Christians for God to do something, make the world like we would rather have it in the way that it is, and God would say to us, hey, you don't see that I'm already using the Russians to put you in your place? We'd say, wait a minute. We didn't ask for that. We just asked for you to intervene and make our lot better, but not by blessing our enemy that's even more wicked than we are. You get what's happening? I know this is silly the way I'm saying it, but it'd be like all of us folks here. Now, I know some of you are going to take offense at this, but I'm going to trust you, so hear me all the way through. What all of us over here in Southeast Texas, and we'd say, God, things are getting tough over here. Will you help us? And God would say, yes, I'm going to send some folks from Louisiana to bail y'all out. Well, the ones we know from Louisiana, like, well, several of them are here. You know that I'm kidding. But the point is kind of like this. Habakkuk expected God to do what Habakkuk told him. That's kind of what we do in prayer. God, here's what I need. Here's how you need to do it. Now, you don't have to worry about it. I already got it planned out. You're almighty. You have the power. I know you have wisdom, but I've helped you out with this, Lord. Why don't you do something? God said, I'm already doing it. It's happening all around you. You're not going to believe what's happening. And all of these complaints you have about the rich folks and the government and the sinful people and all of the complaints you have about you being miserable, things are about to change. You know, Habakkuk says, how? Babylonia? Those wicked people? He even says in some of these passages here that the Babylonians, the Chaldeans are so wicked that they grab the good people with hooks. Now what he's talking about is literally that. Like a fish hook would be with bait, and the fish bites it, and you set the hook, and the hook is embedded in his jaw or inside his mouth, and you catch it. Well, sometimes these wicked people would come with great big hooks and just reach out in various ways and grab your body with the hook so that they could kill you or punish you or imprison you. And they treated mankind as if they didn't matter at all. It was us against the world to them. And they were successful in conquering and being the power in the world for some period of time, shortly or at the time this was written. So just again, I just want you to see it. It's just like us today. Ordinary, good people, faithful people, trusted in God, looked around, didn't like what they saw, wished it would change, couldn't do anything about it, but God can. Hey, God, how many times do we have to tell you? That kind of brings us back to something that I say often to a lot of, I've mentioned it several times, I know since we've been coming down to be with you guys. How many times do you have to pray before God hears you? Now, you might not be ready for God's answer the first time you pray, but God hears you the first time you pray. And Habakkuk gives evidence. I've been asking and asking and asking. Don't you hear? Now, you can read through the Psalms, the book of Psalms in your Bible, and you'll find from time to time the psalmist is complaining to God. My answer is just too slow in doing it. Hurry up doing it. We always kind of think God ought to work on our schedule, I mean, I'm getting older, and if you're going to get this done and I get to sit and enjoy it, get with it. But you see, that's the problem. I've got, a few years left, but not a whole lot. And God's got all eternity. It's going to work out. But maybe not the way my watch is set, or my time zone, or my lifespan. But Habakkuk was just like us, and it shows that people just like us can go to God. God understands us. And if it was wrong for Habakkuk to protest this, God would have just zapped him and he would have been gone. But that didn't happen. So it simply says, God knows what you're thinking. He knows what you're feeling. He knows how you reason. He's not saying you're wrong. And he's going to do what needs to be done to take care of things. But you might not particularly agree with his timing or his action. And that's what Habakkuk was having a difficult time with. Now let me tell you how difficult it was for Habakkuk. This is the fourth point. Chapter 2, verse 1. And it's not so much points of the sermon as this outline of what's here. So I want you to see chapter 2, verse 1 is an important decision. And I'm going to read it in both translations here, the newer translation first, and then in the King James. And it says the same thing, but I want you to catch, here's his decision. Now you got a problem. I see the problem. God, do something about it. God said, I'm already doing it. What? He tells him, oh, that's not the way to do it. Man, am I confused. Here's what happened. Chapter 2, verse 1. I will climb my watchtower and wait to see what the Lord will tell me to say and what answer he will give to my complaint. King James says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And you know what that means? Habakkuk said, I am as confused as I've ever been in my life. Goes through his mind again, and this is what I said in my prayer, this is what I asked him to do. And he told me he's going to do this, and he can't do that. He's a holy God. How can a holy God? You're a God, he says, and you can read it here. Your eyes won't even look upon some of the filth and the ungodliness of these people, and you're going to use them to punish me. Man, am I confused. Where am I going to get the answer? He didn't have the internet. He didn't have a dictionary. He didn't even have the Bible like we had. So he said, I got to have an answer from God, and how am I going to get it? And here's what he decided. And this is so beautiful. I wish I could be like a poet and put it in words that would just be fantastic. But use your imagination with me. He says, the only way I can figure this out, I want to go out and along some of the agricultural areas to protect the crops from animals or people, they would set up towers. Sometimes it would be like a wine press or something. Sometimes just kind of an observation platform. There's some of the agriculture that was going on. And so he says, I'm going to go and I'm going to climb up in one of these towers and I'm going to set myself down and I'm going to plug into God and I'm going to sit there until God helps me to understand what I don't have a clue about right now. I'm going to set up on my tower. I'm going to watch. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be open. And I'm not coming down until I've got a handle on this. Have you ever been so upset, confused, frightened? That's all you can do? So I've asked everybody, I've read everything, I've played all of it, I just don't know what to do. And so you say, I just need to get by myself. I want to get along now. But I was pastor, and Jeannie was with me. We were married, by the way, when I was pastor at this church. We got married then. We were way back there. I was so young when we got married, my daddy had to sign the marriage license. That's true. You had to be 21 back then. I wasn't but 18, 19. And so, anyway, I was pastor at Searsville Baptist Church. We had a nice little apartment. I was still in Baylor's, and he was working in Waco. Valley Mills is 21 miles or so from Waco. We went back and forth real often. Sometimes I could study at our little apartment. Sometimes Jean was at her job, and I was there, and I wanted a secluded place. And I went out to the church, which was out in the country about 4 miles from the little community. You had to come about 9 miles toward the city just to be in the sticks. It was way out there. So I go out behind the building, and it was woods, limestone, cedar trees, mesquites. And I love mesquite trees, by the way. But I'd go out there behind the building, out of sight, just with my Bible and a notepad, and I would sometimes spend hours out there reading, praying, studying, you know. And I'm not bragging about how devoted I am, don't mean that. I mean, just to get by yourself, no interruptions into that gospel. That's what Habakkuk said. I'm going to set me up and watch. I'm going to go climb up in the tower. I'm going to get away from everybody and all distractions. And I'm just going to wait until God helps me to understand what's going on. Okay? Now, I'm giving you the points. If you hadn't got them, I want you to get first, he has his protest. And then God answers. And then he says, oh, that's not a good answer. And he says, I'm going to go figure this out somehow, and I'm going to sit there until I understand. And the fifth thing is in chapter 2, verses 2, 3, and 4. Chapter 2, verses 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to read those. And just here's God's second reply. First was, Babylonians going to come fix you. Oh, that's not good. Here's God's second reply. The Lord gave me this answer. Write down clearly on tablets what I reveal to you, so that it can be read at a glance. Put it in writing, because it is not yet time for it to come true. But the time is coming quickly, and what I show you will come true. It may seem slow in coming, but wait for it. It will certainly take place, and it will not be delayed. And this is the message. Those who are evil will not survive, but those that are righteous will live because of their faith in God. Let me read that from the King James. Chapter 2, verse 2, 3, and 4. Same thing, just different wording. Second answer. And the Lord answered me, and he said, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is not yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Now, what was the second answer? What did God say? You got the background. I've said it 5 or 6 times. Now the second answer. I'm waiting. I don't know how long he sat there. 10 minutes, 24 hours, several days. But he was in his tower. Not leaving till God helps me to understand. I know he knows what he's doing, but I don't grasp it. Here's what God said. Write the vision that I'm about to give you and make it plain upon tables. Now what he's saying is, I want you to write this down on tablets. They didn't have the computers, you know. They didn't have the electronic signs out front of the church. But kind of imagine that for a minute. Have you ever been driving down someplace and you see an electronic sign with a message on it, and the speed limit is 50 miles an hour, and as you get there, the signs or the letters about this high, and they're just, you don't see that, can't read it. You know what God tells him to do? I want you to get some tablets, stone, wood, or something. I want you to get something to write on, and I want you to write it in letters big enough that if somebody is running by it, they can still see what it says. That's what he says when they see it running. It's in the King James that way. Did you catch it? That's what it means. Write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. It doesn't mean run after he reads it. It means run, he can still see it. It's big thing. In other words, get everybody to see this. So when you see a sign after a while or tonight on the church building or something else, it's one of those electronic kinds that moves, just notice if it's so small and you're going so fast you can't really read it, it doesn't do much good. But the ones that put the big letters, and they're $35,000, $40,000 a piece for a sign like that clock, and they don't work half the time, you notice that. But if you get one real big, no matter what speed limit is going by there, you can just see it. That's what he's saying here. I got an answer, and I want you to put it on a sign and make the letters so big that anybody even running by, who's not even thinking about that, can't help but see it, and he'll know what's being said. What was the message? Well, the message is simply this. Those who are evil will be punished, they will not survive. But those who are righteous will live because they're faithful. This is the first place in the Bible where it says, and it says it many times after this first time in the Bible where it says, the just shall live by faith. Remember, the Jewish people got to the place they thought the just would live by keeping the law. And your works made you right with God, and your bad works kept you from being right with God. And God is saying here, way back in the Old Testament, 600 years before Jesus, he is saying the just people, the ones who are just and live by faith and by trust, they're the ones going to be okay. It's the one who depend on themselves and make a mess of it, and all of us make a mess of it because we're all sinners, they're going to be punished. So basically he's saying here to Habakkuk at this time, now, the people that I'm going to use to bring you back where you ought to be, I agree they're bad. And they, in turn, will suffer for their badness. In fact, though we're not talking about this much this morning, there are two other points. And one of the other things here is in verses 5 through 20, and it's a series of 5 woes against the Chaldeans. So Habakkuk's right. They're worse than we are. Yeah, God said, I'm going to use them to put you where you ought to be. Well, they're worse than we are. He said, yeah, I realize this, and they're going to get their punishment too in the right time. Now, here's what I want us to see, and we'll confine ourselves to this for the rest of the sermon time. All right? He said, I'll climb my watchtower, back to chapter 2, last point here. I'll climb my watchtower, wait to see what the Lord will tell me to say, and what answer he will give to my complaint. The Lord gave me this answer. Write down clearly on tablets what I revealed to you so that it can be read at a glance. Put it in writing, because it's not yet time for it to come true, but the time is coming quickly. What I show you will come true. It may seem slow in coming, but wait for it. It will certainly take place and not be delayed. Now, I have given credit for the outline to Dr. Carl Yates at Baylor. He's been in heaven a number of years. He was my professor there, so I kept the outline all these years. I was in his class. I have a book that he has written about the prophets, and it's in that book as well. And even this illustration that I'm going to use in closing, I'm sure Dr. Yates told when he taught this lesson to me as a Baylor student. I haven't been to the airport in a while. We don't fly a lot, but fly very little. But you know when you go to an airport, if it hadn't changed completely, now I know electronic things are also different, but you know how you used to go to an airport and you're ready to get to your terminal at this right time, and you'll check those great big monitors, the great big television screens, and it'll say flight so-and-so from so-and-so to so-and-so, arrival time such and such, delay, or it'll say departure time, certain on time. You know what I'm saying? Some of you remember at train depots. Y'all remember what trains used to be? Some of us don't. They used to travel. People used to go from place to place on a train. And you go to the depot and buy your ticket. Now the only time we do this is we're in Colorado and at the Durango and we're going up to Silverton or something like that. But they had trains. Back when I was in school, everybody in school still remembered it, okay? So Dr. Yates used this illustration. He said, when you go into a depot and you're buying a ticket to get on the train to go to a certain place, you look on, usually there was a blackboard. And with chalk, they would write train so-and-so, number, arrival time, on time, delay, or leaving so-and-so, and then put the time, this kind of stuff. Okay. Dr. Yates says that what Habakkuk is getting from God in this passage is this. Catch this now. Now I'll repeat it, I promise you. But catch this. He says, God has a timetable. And God's train is never late. Now you think how simple that is. But when you and I are complaining God doesn't do it the way we think He ought to, God knows what He's doing. He does. Now, he I think, appreciates when we come and tell Him, hey, God, we found out this is a mess. What are we going to do without You? But I think He laughs at us when we come and tell Him what to do. Or how quickly to get it done. And that was Habakkuk's problem. Habakkuk was right. Man, I wish things were different. God, when are You going to do something? God said, I'm already doing it. You won't even believe it. But I'm doing it. Habakkuk didn't believe it was happening. And then when he thought what he said, he said, you can't do it this way. Man, Habakkuk. And so he goes and he gets up in his tower, and I don't know how long he stayed there, as I've already said, but he thinks and he prays and he reads and he studies and he thinks and he's confused, and finally God says, listen, I want you to write this down so everybody can read it. Even at a glance, they can run by, not even thinking about it, but just can't help but see it. And it's going to basically say, if you leave God out of your life and out of your thoughts, you're going to pay for it. The evil are going to be punished. And people like you, Habakkuk, and like you, the just will live because of their faith. Trust me. Trust me. I've got it. I've got it all. I've got it all. Then he goes on and he gives those words, woe unto you, 5 different times to the Babylonians. In the newer translation it says you are doomed 5 different times. But it's, oh, woe to thee, you are doomed because of the sinful things you have done and you've not turned back to me. The people that will survive are the ones who trust God through Jesus to take care of life here and now and take care of eternity. The evil are those who think that he can do it without God, and they are going to be destroyed. It's going to be the way you think it ought to be, Christian friend. In our country, in Russia, in Louisiana, as well as Texas, it's going to be that way wherever. The just shall live not because of their goodness, not because of their money, not because of their intelligence. They're going to live because their faith is in God. And those who trust themselves, their wisdom, their power, their might, will be punished because they leave God out. Because you know that's where all sin begins? Just thinking you can do it without Him. That's what Adam and Eve did. Well, we eat the tree, the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We don't need God. We don't plan to do anything bad. We just don't need Him. And that's the first step in every sin. My life, do what I please. I can do it my way. I hate that song by Frank Sinatra. You can do it your way, but it ends up you going to hell rather than going through faith in Christ and God's plan to glory. Now, I'm not condemning Sinatra, I just don't like that song. Because we don't need to do it our way. We need to do it His way. And those who live by faith are okay. Even if you suffer a while, and even if it doesn't get fixed during your lifetime or mine, it's going to get fixed. God has all eternity to even out the scales and let people get what they earned and what they don't. I could repeat it again and again and again, but I want you to read it again. It's a wonderful little book, and keep your outline, because when you just read it without knowing what it's talking about, you just put it in the world. But it is actually these things that we receive. And read it again. And if you didn't make an outline, we'll get from somebody else. And if you can't get from somebody else, shame on you. I'll let you look at mine again if you see it. And I think Habakkuk is just a wonderful book. But remember, and I'm stopping with this, remember what he said at the end that we read first. Okay, if this is the way it's going to be, if I can trust God, and He's got it in control, and it's going to be the way it ought to be eventually, Even though there are no crops in the fields, no grapes on the vines, no grain anywhere, all the cattle die, not any of the lambs left, yet will I trust him. I don't see how it can happen. But he's going to take care of me, and I can trust him. And he's going to make my feet like a deer, that I can climb up to high places and live life on that plane instead of right down here because of sin. Boy, God's got a plan. And doesn't he have a wonderful book that communicates like a Habakkuk? What a treasure. Maybe it's the first time you ever heard a sermon on Habakkuk. Anybody? You heard this all before? Anybody not heard it till today? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Gene, you don't raise your hand. Sherry's visiting us. She's heard this. I preached somewhere else and she heard this twice. Okay? But it's a wonderful book, but so is all of God's book. It's just kind of hard for us to get into it and think like it's thinking so we can get the message. That's why when people say, well, I read the Bible for myself, they can't. No, because they won't give much time as you do. They need to come to Sunday school. They need to be in worship service. And we need to encourage them. Now, the invitation is this. If you're not a member of the church here, you need to be, would you come and join us? Just move your membership. If your membership is in a church in California and you've been here 32 years, it's time enough to move your ladder. Okay? Put your ladder where you live. It's kind of like putting your money where your mouth is. If this is where you're going to live and die, be in a church here. And commit yourself to be a part of what the church is doing. We need you. You come as God leads you. You come to need to trust Jesus. You come to trust him. We'll help you with next help, but you alone have to take the first step. Let's stand. We're going to sing just a verse of a hymn. If you need to come publicly, come. Be wise like Habakkuk. When God speaks, and I understand, he can count on me from now on. No matter what happens, it's going to be okay. You come with God leads you, please.